different is this year, how much do you try to make it different? How much do you try to keep everything the same, knowing all the changes that have come around here in the last 2 weeks? 2 months, rather, excuse me.
We don't try to make it different at all. I mean, we have the same rules on the court. We have a lot of the same players that we've had. We've got some new guys, and we have the same goals for the most part that we always have. So we're just trying to get better every day and be the best we can be. Pretty much the same structure of the preseason. We have a closed scrimmage. We have an exhibition game. We have an opener. We go to an early season tournament. So our guys know what's coming up. He is a terrific shooter, as good a shooter as I've ever coached, but sometimes with guys that define themselves that way, they limit themselves to be just that. And he can do more. I mean, he's got good size for a guard. He can rebound. He's gotten way better handling the ball. He can talk now. When he first got here, he would never open his mouth. He's gotten much better on defensive end. So, again, it's a fine line because you want him to make shots, and that's a big part of what he does here, but you don't want him to limit himself in that way. I don't want him to strictly shape his confidence just on whether or not he's making shots, but the reality is that's how shooters are. I mean, I've been around a lot of shooters in my time, coaching, playing, and that's probably the most valued trait someone can have is making shots. So when they have that, they really hold on to it and identify with it. So he's going to need to transcend that a little bit. When you're on defense, it's havoc. When you're on offense, we get the ball, you have to quickly change your mindset to one of poise. And for some players, that's easy to do. Brad was really good at that. But for Briante, his freshman year, it was frantic. Sometimes when he had the ball, he would get ahead of himself, turn the ball over, or make a poor decision or a poor shot. So he's gotten better, and I'm excited to see how he carries it over to the game.
Do you ever see a guy like him evolving into a starting role, or are there guys like him that bring such a change of pace and such a difference for the opposing team that you really want them coming off the bench because it's one more thing that they have to think about?
Yeah, both. Yes and yes. He definitely could be a starter. He could be a starter this year. He could start the first game maybe. I mean, I haven't decided who's going to start. He's playing well, and if he can keep getting better, it's all relative to your opponent, your teammates. But your second point is very good as well. I think sometimes you want guys coming off the bench that can change the nature of the game, and he's going to come in off the bench with energy, with a defensive presence, active hands, getting deflections, and that's valuable as well. Great home court advantage. We love it here. We love the fact that our fans get so into the games. We want to even take it to another level this year in terms of every single night, just a frenzied atmosphere on the floor. Because remember, there's a lot of teams coming in here that have never been here before, both non-conference and in the Atlantic 10. So we're excited about showing them, what the Siegel Center is all about. And it all works together. It's the style of play. It's our players. Our coaching staff tries to bring energy to the games. And then it's the fans. I've never been at a school where the fans have such an intimate relationship with the team and specifically with the players. And I think that's something special that is unique to VCU. But this year's team, we understand that we hang our hat on defense. Defense is where everything starts and where everything ends. We have a long way to go in terms of the particulars, the rules on defense. Our new guys have so much to learn, but it's October, so I'd say most teams are in that boat.
How much is it the staff talking to the new guys about that, and how much is it the upperclassmen telling the young guys?
Well, you prefer it to be more coming from player to player. Leadership that comes from another player is 100 times more valuable than when it comes from a coach, because we coach these guys every day, and we're on them individually and as a team, it's constant all over them. But if a player can step up and say, hey, this is what you need to do, that carries a lot of weight.
The perception is that the A-10 is much more physical than the CAA was. Do you find that to be true? And without giving away your game plan, does that change your offensive philosophy at all, or can you still stick with what has gotten you this far?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true or not, and we'll see. It's hard to tell. Physicality on tape is something that's you don't really get a great feel for. I don't know, ODU and Drexel, I mean, those are pretty physical teams and teams that year in and year out were in the top 10 in the country in rebounding. I would say overall the Atlantic 10 is going to be bigger across the front line than most of the CAA teams. But in terms of us changing who we are and what we do, we're not going to change as long as what we do is successful. I mean, if our personnel dictates that we change, then we'll change. The better Javante Reddick plays, for instance, the more we're going to throw him the ball around the basket.